She had been prepared for the Dharma talk.
So a lot of people are like, oh, I haven't prepared anything. And they come up and they're like, oh, I'll just say this and this. So whenever he hears that people didn't prepare, his heart feels kind of heavy, disappointed. When Renee always tells you like a few weeks in advance when is your turn to do the Dharma talk. So then you say you don't prepare, and then you come up. When he asked her yesterday if she prepared, she said he felt that she was talking, but then it got kind of off track.
Yeah, it's
like suddenly put on the brakes and just stop talking. But talking, it's hard to talk public speaking, so it wasn't bad. When you start, there's 4 points of when you're doing. One is you have to. There's 4 points. When you have to have these 4 kind of techniques. You have to have a beginning, like a middle, an end, an objective. Qito. Like a beginning, an introduction. Like you're going to kind of talk about this subject. She's going to talk about like big temples and smaller temples. Have like a theme, kind of a thesis for your discussion. When you're talking about like big temples and small temples, like how did you feel? Like what did you feel like? You could develop the topic more. And then she talked about this. And then you have to think about, why am I talking about this? Like, how is this going to lead to the next topic? Or how is this going to like be kind of a theme within the talk? It's like the introduction for your topic. When you're talking about like temples, you can give an example. Or talk about like in Grandmaster's, like he talks about jokes in his Dharma talks to kind of give an example to explain the topic more clearly. And then turn up the mic on Sensei's mic. When you talk about like temples and these examples about your experience in the temple, and then you have to have like a middle, kind of like to tie it all together. What's the main? Turn up Sensei's mic. No, Sensei's mic.
turn up the mic.
Yeah. To like kind of bring it all together. So if you have these 4 points, and then you have to have a conclusion to kind of wrap it up. So if you have these 4 points, then you'll have a very complete Dharma talk. So this is Julie's first time giving a Dharma talk, so we won't give her a hard time.
Yeah.
We'll give her a little slack. But you can't just do a Dharma talk like your husband's Dharma talk. Her husbands are very short, and so Julie always kind of gives him a hard time about his Dharma talks. They're not, and she can't be like, oh, but when I talk, it's much better. So she can't give her husband too a hard time because. Fatsing, when he does a Dharma talk, he just like stops in the middle. But there was a Lian, a Dharma sister Lian, and then her Dharma talks were pretty good. She she prepared. When you prepare, this is like your
would respect herself.
it's when you prepare, it's like you're respecting yourself and you're respecting what you're teaching and sharing with others. So this is the 鼓励. It's a way to encourage people to really take the Dharma talk seriously. So if people just like start, there's a lot of opportunities we can share with people when we do our Dharma talks. But towards yourself and towards other people, there's this respect to show people that you respect them, that you really put an effort into giving a Dharma talk. So today, talking about Dharma, Buddhism. Buddhism, when you're feeling towards Buddhism, it's like you could say I understand a lot of Dharma, a lot of Buddhism. But most people, when they come to the temple, they'll just like pray for things and burn incense and ask for stuff. But if you really want to come to learn and study Buddhism, it's not really the same kind of thing. It's just praying for stuff. When Master went to Singapore, he went to a Guanyin temple. It was a really beautiful temple. He hadn't even gone in, and you see the whole block.
People come to the
It was a very popular temple. A lot of people are coming. There's like a lot of booths on the street, like selling stuff. You could sell like offerings and like the paper money offerings for spirits. But without even going in, he heard the kautzim, like the prayer sticks. It's the like it makes that sound. So he heard that a lot. He's like, he doesn't know. He didn't know what that sound was. He thought it was like some kind of like an electric sound, something like going static or something. And then he saw a whole bunch of people inside, and everybody had the kautzim sticks, like the prayer sticks, and they were just like shaking them, and then them would fall out, and they would go see their number, and then to see what their fortune was. And this is a temple. 民间信仰. It's like it's a kind of style of Buddhism for like very common people wishing for common things. Just to like prayer for like safety and their business goes well and money and health, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, kids, like worldly things. This is just for praying for stuff. Prayers. This doesn't necessarily mean it's Buddhism. Really, Buddhism, Dharma, is like you want to understand why you're suffering. Why do you have problems? You want to understand the root of your problems and your worries and your suffering. If you can find the root of this, you have to go confront it. This is what Julie was talking about. So this is like confront yourself. Oh, cutting off and learning how to cut off your problems and your worries and stop and understanding affinity, how it comes and goes, and not, you haven't done bad things yet, so stopping yourself from doing bad things and you haven't done good things yet, so making yourself do good things within this guochen, like within this cycle. You learn how to see yourself and your mind and understanding non-self. So within, then you learn about all the Buddha, Bodhisattvas, Dharma protectors and their vows to protect you. And then you can pray with the Buddha, Bodhisattvas, Dharma protectors, that they can pray they have good health, the home is smooth, that all is safe and auspicious. And you can pray that if things, whatever happens, regardless of what happens, my heart and my mind will be stable and cultivate. So this is kind of more what the teachings of Buddhism is, not just about asking for stuff. You have to realize you have to learn how to accept your karma. If something happens to you, that you can accept it, that you've created it. So you're really realizing that problems and worries and sufferings comes from your own mind, it comes from yourself. If you have to, if you don't understand, and you go pray, and you ask the Buddha Bodhisattvas to protect you, and when you create the knots, you've created the knot yourself. And you can't just like make a knot and create a problem and then tell the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to undo the knot for you. Right?
Yeah.
By yourself. So Master's just giving kind of example to Julie. If she'd kind of gone more in depth and explained something like this, that'd be really good. She just said a point. Studying Buddhism is 自自法. When you come to the True Buddha Temple, you just don't come to pray. It's to really, you should come to learn and study Dharma and Buddhism. Why should you learn Buddhism? And when you learn the Buddhism, you'll have the opportunity to increase your wisdom, and you can then start clearing out your negative karma with your wisdom. So let's say, for example, you're learning how to do the Dalibai, the Great Prostration. So when you use the Great Prostration, you learn how to decrease your arrogance and your pride. You learn how to let go of your selfishness when you do the Great Mandala offering. If you do the Great Offering, you really can reduce your selfishness. Every Dharma has an objective in a way to help you. It's not just you have to do like fortune Dharma or protection Dharmas. All kinds of Dharmas are Dharmas. So talking about like Taoism or Buddhism, go with the flow. Yeah, just like be natural, go with the flow. There's an important point in Buddhism or Daoism. Oh. When you have a problem, you have to really remember it comes from yourself. Or you realize I'm suffering. A lot of times what we do is we blame them and him and her. And we ask, why is there that him or her? It's because there's a me. And we create this differentiation and duality of them and me. If you think about who is having like a problem with somebody else, or this problem I'm having, what is the problem? Once you really kind of analyze the situation and look at it, you can kind of come out of it. And then you can confront yourself and see what your mind truly is. Talking about this is a little difficult or difficult to understand.
Getting harder to understand.
But this is really what we're here to learn about in Dharma and Buddhism. A lot of people with Buddhism, they feel like Buddhism is just yeah, I guess a lot of people approach Buddhism for selfish means to get stuff. And this is really the wrong reason. So a lot of people kind of collect Dharma, like they collect baseball cards and they kind of like look at them and line them up. But collecting Dharma and just having a lot of Dharma practices that you maybe know how to do but don't actually do them and don't really actually practice, this is no use. This just means you've collected a lot of dharmas, but this is not really the point. Some people feel like Dharma. I feel like I learned how to chant a mantra, and this mantra is the best. It's very important. There's some people that really focus on precepts. They feel like this is the best. Every Dharma, when you use any of the Dharmas correctly, it's really, it's like a medicine that can really cure your problems. But if you use these dharmas incorrectly, it can poison you and other people and hurt you. So regarding Dharma, the Dharma is the same for everybody. Everybody has to really practice it. But in talking about Vajrayana Buddhism, if you don't understand what your level is in Vajrayana Buddhism, Chuguan.
Basic first level of
like the first level, the fundamental level. You have to understand if that's what your level is. The second level, the analogy of Padmasambhava is that if you go to the level you're not ready, like the third level practice, it's like trying to take a pearl out of the mouth of a poisonous snake. So if you're really not the right level, how of course could you go to the fourth level practice with great perfection? So all the levels of Dharma are Dharma, but you really have to understand what level you're at and what you're able to handle. In the Diamond Sutra, there's a Seng that says, he's quoting from the sutra, talking about Dharma. In the Mitien, that's the sutra that the English name is really hard to remember. But talking about Hui Fa. I think he's talking about like convenience dharmas and like Arahat. They're like within the cycle and they jump out of the cycle into nirvana. They have like a goal for their practice. But there's emptiness dharmas. This is really difficult to translate. It's talking about.
I do something not for any purpose. I am not asked for anything. I just do it.
So he's talking about doing practices in Dharma with no objective. Hui Fa is like no goal. Dharma. So the first group did give the example of the Arahat is like they're cultivating with a purpose, with a goal. But then the second group's talking about. But if you think you're like in a separate group and I don't have a purpose, then a goal of not having a purpose then becomes your purpose. So you kind of get trapped in the wrong thought still. So talking about your body is very dirty. It's like Dharma is like taking like soap and cleaning off your body and cleaning and purifying yourself. So after you take a shower, you feel very clean. So even after you use the soap to clean yourself, you still then have to get the soap off of you. But if you don't use the soap to clean off yourself and you just have the bubbles, then are you clean? the Dharma Buddhism is like using the soap to clean your skin off, to allow yourself to see the Buddha nature. It's a method, it's a technique, it's a way to get. So a grandmaster talking about an example, if he uses his finger to point at the moon and he points at the moon, so this finger pointing at the moon is the Dharma. It's showing you the way. But if you're at one point and you look up and you just keep focusing on the finger and the hand pointing, and you forget to actually, don't realize you're supposed to be looking at the moon, then you're on the wrong path. So you kind of get obsessed at looking at the finger pointing at the moon, which represents the Dharma in Buddhism. But the goal and the objective is actually the moon. It's not just the Dharma, it's actually the realization and enlightenment. If you look, gently, it's just a way to help you realize that you have a way to get up to the moon. I'm like talking about the Diamond Sutra again. So the Dharma is like a boat to help you get to the other side of the shore. But when you get off on the shore to get in your nirvana, do you just pick up the boat and like carry it with you? You can't be attached to the boat. Because then you're stuck, you're attached to the Dharma. So talking about Buddhism, so you can say, I listen to so much Buddhism, or I cultivate so many Dharmas. It's really the ones you realize it's a way, it's a convenient means, it's a method. It's not the actual final goal and destination. Talking about Buddhism and Dharma. You can't just say so you can't just say, oh, I realize the hand is not the moon, so I just forget about the hand. You still need the hand to guide you and to show you the way. You know that cultivating is good. So you have to realize and remember why you're cultivating, why are you chanting mantras, why you're cultivating. When I have to remember when I'm chanting mantra, I'm trying to see my mind and calm my mind. If you're just like chanting sutras and like looking around and looking for beautiful women, just letting your mind wander, or looking who's coming in a temple and like counting the beads and like, oh yeah, I did it. Oh, 100,000,000 like 100,000 times or however many thousands of times. You have to really focus your mind, bead, each mantra you're chanting, the visualization, that merit. If you're just looking around, there's not a lot of merit from that. You could just say, oh, okay, so chanting mantra is not useful. No, of course it's very important, but it's the way you have to understand how to do it, how to create the merit from it. There's different ways to do it. So within Dharma, you might have this feeling. You're like, oh, there's so many dharmas. How can I like complete? How can I understand? There's so much dharma to understand. How can I understand it all? So this is what Master's personal thought is. There's so many dharmas. It's hard to understand. Yes, it's very hard to understand. And it's hard to... So, but you really have to do one thing. And doing this one thing, you can do what he said. You really have to confront yourself. You really have to look at yourself. Every dharma, you really have to look at. Any kind of dharma, it's really about looking and confronting yourself. Little by little, you can really see yourself. You really learn how to see the self. And everything you can use it as a motivation to help you cultivate and improve yourself. So what he said to Master said today is very important. Talking about his own heart. Yeah, is that okay? Yesterday he saw Tao. Well, it's Friday, but he saw Tao, and he was very happy. Why was he happy? Because Tongjin. On the outside world, we're talking about True Buddha Temple people. He what? Chun. We don't have like a lot of like famous people or like important people.
So, they don't ignore those inside they how to say it?
I don't know.
You're gonna say low level, but
Wait, this, yeah, kind of. I don't know. So you ask, like, how can you make Master happy? So what makes the Master the most happy is having you guys learning Dharma and practicing Buddhism. there's some people.
Some people is like people come to donate. Donation, people happy, but I'm not that.
Some people, like some monks, will be happy if people come to temple to like give them money and donate money to temple. That's not really what Master wants. What Master wants is for you to learn to come practice and learn Dharma. He wants to help you get out of your suffering and your problems. So talking about like Renee and Tao, and Carmen. Talking about like non-Chinese speaking people. And Carmen, Master can speak English, but Carmen no entiende mucho del inglés. Entonces es difícil comunicarse con ella. And he sees us, he really wants to help teach us. And to have opportunity to like teach us and work with us specifically, it's very difficult. But Guaju,
Miss them.
it's like when they don't come, he misses them because he doesn't have a lot of opportunity to interact with us as much. So see, Tao, it makes Master feel very happy that she still keeps coming to learn Dharma. To just want to make sure, let people know within most important thing in Dharma is to really improve yourself. In True Buddha Vishahi Temple, this is a point of our Dharma here, is to really improve yourself and to help sentient beings in that way. That's our objective. So I hope that people have this opportunity to learn Dharma in this way.